is going on, YouTube family? It is your favorite entrepreneur turned techie, Sarah Nicole, and we are back with another video. And today is a super special video because we are going to be talking about how to break into project management in the tech industry. Now, being a project manager is a career that a lot of people have experience in and they don't even realize it. And the great thing about it is at entry level, you can make close to $80 to $100,000 in those first couple years. So I want to introduce you to a special guest. Her name is Sabina Harris. She has many years of experience as a project manager, and she's going to dive into everything that you need to know about getting experience, breaking into the industry, and what is possible for you. So make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button before we dive into the interview. Sabina, well, I'm super happy to have you on the channel. As I was saying, in my intro, this is really just going to be all about just what's possible in project management in the technology space. I think sometimes when we think about project management, you think that you have to have like 10 plus years of experience to be able to work with these technology companies. And so when I was just hearing more about your journey and your story with how you even got into IT project management, I realize how accessible it is for a lot of professionals or even business owners to be able to really just expand their career. So Sabina, I would love for you to just kind of introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about what you do, and then we'll just dive into what project management is and a little bit more about how you got into it and what your journey looked like.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for joining the session last night. So I'm Sabina Harris. I transitioned from corporate marketing back in 2020 into project management, and I currently am a contractor. So I've started my own LLC doing project management, but I specialize in IT project management. And I transitioned from corporate marketing in 2020 full-time as a contractor to project management.
Wow. So before we dive into like how you got into it in your story, can we talk about just a little bit so that people can know what's possible for them in this field? Because I know with people getting into the technology space, salary is, I think, a big reason that a lot of people do consider it. So like as a project manager, do you know like kind of the salary ranges that are even possible in this space?
Yeah, so I would say as a entry level, and when I say entry level project manager, I'm talking about someone 1 years to 3 years. I would say at base, you're looking at about $80,000 is what I've seen in my research. And you can see upwards of 200 plus $1,000 a year. And that, especially in the technology space, a lot of times the salaries will include your base salary. You may potentially bonus or get any type of additional benefits, so RDUs, equity in the company. But as far as just a baseline salary, I would say between 80,000 entry and upwards of 200,000, depending on your experience.
Wow. And for that to be like an entry level salary, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, I mean that's much higher than a lot of other industries as far as looking at like what entry level looks like.
Yeah, I mean, when I graduated college many years ago, I think I made like $35,000. So
Right.
thinking about someone, again, it will take a little bit of experience. And a lot of times people have done project management and just don't realize it because maybe their organization didn't call what they're working on a project, or they didn't realize that they were actually working against deliverables and helping people remove blockers, all the things that we do as project managers. So a lot of people have more experience than they think. They just, again, it's a mindset shift that you have to rethink about how the work that you've done correlates to project management.
So what is project management? Like obviously I know, but if you're talking to someone who just they are trying to look into getting in the tech field and just maybe considering project management, but they don't really know what it is because you hear the term a lot, but like is there like a simplified definition that you can kind of give?
Yeah, so I would say the easiest way that I think about project management is think about if you were wanting to build a house. That's your project. And building that house has a start date. So when they initially start getting the ground ready, and it has an end date when the house is completed. That's a project. And basically, as a project manager, you're managing all the different phases of building that house. So when are the contractors going to lay the foundation? When are they going to start working on the wood frame? Once they get the framing, when are they going to install the walls? So all the different steps, you're managing that as a project manager. So that's the easiest way that I can articulate what project management is. It is more complicated as far as the different things you're responsible for doing, but that's a good way of just simply understanding how do you manage a project.
Right. And so, what made you even get into project management in the first place? I know that you mentioned that you came from a marketing background. What even sparked your interest in managing projects?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I was in corporate marketing for 11 years and I'd worked my way up from, being a brand manager to a director of marketing. And what I realized in the later part of my career is I was literally managing projects all day long. We called them campaigns, but they were essentially projects. And my role as a director was to be more strategic. I wasn't the one that was on, boots on the ground, so to speak, like doing the work, but I was managing a staff of people who were responsible subject matter experts for doing the work. So when I got ready to transition, to be quite honest, I've had to think about if I've been doing this one thing for 11 years and I've mastered it to what I call mastering it, what could I easily transition to without having to start all the way over? Because going to school, and going into debt, to get another degree wasn't an option for me, so then I started looking at certifications. But to be quite honest, it was really having that truth moment of what have I been doing? How can I leverage these skills? And as I got on YouTube, like I mentioned yesterday in the class, and started researching, project management kept coming up, it kept popping up. And the more I did research, I realized I've been doing this for a very long time. I just didn't call it project management in my previous roles.
And I like that example that you give with your own experience because I think that more people are probably like expert project managers without even realizing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, like, especially if you are a mom, you project manage all day long with with your children. Even if you're not a mom and it's just your everyday life, you have things going on that are many projects within your life. If you've ever, like I mentioned, build a house, if you are looking to go, let's say it's getting ready for Thanksgiving, we're preparing for the holidays. That Thanksgiving dinner is essentially a project. There are things that you're going to have to do to get ready for Thanksgiving dinner, and it's outside of just going to the grocery store. You got to pull out all your dishes. You got to figure out, what are we going to eat? Do I have everything? There may be blockers that come up, right? Like, okay, well, auntie whoever is coming to eat and she's vegan. Well, that may be a blocker for you if you're not prepared and you don't have that on your menu. So now you got to come up with a solution. So again, these are just simple examples of how we project manage all day long. In my field, I handle project managing IT projects, but every industry has project management from education to the medical field. Everyone has project management.
And to do this, so do you have to have like a certification or a degree?
No, so I tell everyone the thing that I love about project management is a lot of times when you get ready to change careers, or even if you're just getting started, you run into that roadblock of, oh my gosh, I don't have a degree in whatever they want me to specialize in. I'm never going to knock someone having a degree, but it is truly not a requirement in this field. The thing about project management that I do enjoy is although having a 4-year degree is, let's say it's a good marketing tool, right? It's a good thing to have. It's not required. More so, what people pay attention to are the certificates, the certifications that you've obtained. Because within project management, you can specialize in certain methodologies. And so you can continue to learn, continue to get certified. And that to me holds more weight than a 4-year degree that you obtained 20 years ago, but now technology and systems have changed. So it's an ever changing, ever evolving industry that you can always jump into, and you don't have to have that 4-year degree.
And I love that because often it's taught to us that we can't achieve these higher paid salaries or anywhere near a 6-figure salary if we don't have these higher level degrees. And so just being able to go and get a certification, which I wonder why that's not talked about more in schools, like maybe some people just don't want to go to college, but I feel like it's not pushed to get these types of certifications because I don't know, would that be considered a trade?
Yeah, so if you, and this is my personal opinion, just putting out that disclaimer, but I feel like it's not pushed as much because higher education is definitely a huge profit generating industry, right? Money is made off of people going into debt to go to school to obtain these degrees, to get a degree that you are more than likely, not always, but a lot of times statistics proves that you go into 40, $50,000 worth of debt. I just mentioned that I came out of school making 35,000. That alone, the math doesn't add up, right?
Right.
But there's so much money that can be made in higher education. Now, with that, I do have a 4 year degree. I do think the degree is valuable, but it's not valuable in the sense of what helped me get into project management. My degree has absolutely nothing to do with project management. I've actually never worked in my field, which I obtained a degree.
Oh wow, really?
My degree
What?
is in public relations, so
Mm,
communications. I started out, like I said, in marketing, and that's where once I got started, I just stayed in that industry. I graduated during the recession, so it was very hard to find a job. But once I landed what I deem as like my real job, it was in marketing, and that's the area that I stayed in. But it has nothing to do with public relations. And to be quite honest, I've never been asked or questioned, why are you going into IT project management and your degrees in public relations? So again, I think with if you think about how it used to be, so when I talk to like my grandparents, they grew up in an era where trade schools were very much publicized and talked about and encouraged. They had things like Job Corps, where it was an alternative to going to a 4 year school. Now, again, schools are accessible to more people, which means they can make more money. So when you think about just how we as Americans are designed, it's all about money, to be quite
yeah.
honest. So,
It is most definitely a money grab, for sure. But I think it's really important just even knowing what is out there outside of, having the 4 year degree, just the different options. And so right now, I feel like we're in a very interesting time as far as like the economy and kind of like the social climate here in the US. And I know you said you actually graduated during a recession, right? And some people say that we're in a recession now. Some people are saying that we're going into one. Um, do you think it'll be very challenging for someone to break into project management with, the economy being the way that it is right now?
yeah, I mean, I would be lying to you to sit here and say that it's going to be a cakewalk, right? I don't
Right.
think even in the years between, so I mentioned that I transitioned in 2020, that was COVID year. Things were crazy. It very much reminded me of when I was trying to look for a job when I first graduated college. But I don't think the job market has ever been just easy to break into.
Mm,
It does take work. It takes more than just submitting. The days of just submitting an application and a company calling you, the next hour, those days have been long gone, even before, the recession we're currently in, or even the one that I experienced when I graduated. But to answer your question, I think it's a tough market, but I also think that if you put in the work and you take a different approach, you can be successful.
And so when you say put into work, what does that mean? So like, do you suggest maybe going after like a W-2 type of project management role? Or I know that you mentioned that you have like an LLC where you're actually doing contracts. So like if someone's just starting out um, pursuing a, traditional role, in your opinion, what do you think might be like the best route?
I think it depends on the individual. So for me to form an LLC and take that route, business wasn't new to me because I also own a software development company. So I've been used to running a business. If I was someone that I've never run a business a day in my life, I probably wouldn't have gone the route of forming an LLC and then trying to contract. You can also contract just traditionally under a W 2 and go through like a contract agency and have them place you, but you're an employee of that agency. So I think to answer your first question of, do I suggest doing the LLC route? I think it also depends on what are your goals. Do you want to have your own entity where you offer project management services to different corporations? Or are you good and okay and your goal is to be a W-2 employee? Neither one of them are better than the other. It's just all about preference. And that's the beautiful thing about project management is you can control your destiny and what you want to do with your career. I will say what I mentioned yesterday on the session is there's a lot of contract roles right now because, as you know, we just talked about the job market is crazy. Some companies, what they did is they overhired during COVID, and then now we're seeing the effects. And this is, I'm speaking specifically about tech, but they overhired during COVID, and now they're starting to scale back. But what's happening is for those who did scale back in the project management industry, they know projects still have to happen. So now, instead of hiring full-time employees and having to pay for their insurance and their benefits, they're paying those employees more money, but allowing those employees to either get their own benefits independently or go through an agency, and they're still getting projects done. So again, it's not that if you go on LinkedIn today and you search for project management roles, the jobs are there. So the demand is there. I think you just have to figure out which way you want to take about going to a company and saying, I want to work for you either full time or W-2, or I want to work for you on a temporary basis as a contractor.
So if I'm someone who's going into it for the first time, I know that I feel like it would be kind of intimidating or scary to just come into a project when you've never really managed. Like, obviously, you've probably managed projects and things that you've done, but like, not in that sense where it's like, okay, this is my project that I have to basically take the reins on, right? So, like, is there a way to get experience before you like jump into a job?
Definitely. So if you think about like in the normal corporate setting, right? When you go off to college, they encourage you, you need to get an internship. You need to get some experience before you
Right.
start applying for a job. That's no matter if you have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, they're going to always encourage an internship, or it may be called a fellowship when you get in grad school, right? So with project management, you have opportunities to do the same thing. I actually offer a course through the Profit PM Academy where I teach people the fundamentals of project management. So at baseline, what is project management? What are you going to be doing as a project manager? I walk you through managing projects. So essentially, by the time you get finished with that course, you have experience to put on your resume because you've managed a project, you've gone through the internship, you've walked through the modules, so you truly understand project management at its foundation. And we also help you with optimizing your LinkedIn and your resume. So the goal is, I can't promise you that you're going to go get a job tomorrow, but my
Right.
goal is to set you up for success. I don't want you to just take the course, learn the information, and then you haven't had real world experience, which is why I offer the internship portion.
That's awesome because it's easy just to take a course, like even with the like there's like the Google certificates and
Yes.
things like that that offer that baseline, but actually being able to have the experience of managing a project and just getting a real world example, I think is going to better prepare you for when you go into an actual company, and you
hmm
don't really have a lot of time to like figure out what you're doing because you're just thrown into the mix.
Yeah, and the reason why I structured the course that way is during my transition, again, I went on YouTube, right? And I started researching project management, and I kept hearing about you need to go and get a certified Scrum Master certificate, which is called a CSM. And that's what I did. And although, like, again, I was able to be successful, I definitely at the end of that course was like, man, this would have been a lot easier. And I feel like I would have been able to grasp the concept if I would have taken a step back and understood project management at its core before specializing in a specific methodology and getting a certificate, which is what I did. So that's why when I sat down and said, okay, I'm ready to start, teaching people what I did and I want to help people, I want you to learn the foundation, because with project management, you have to think of it like a tree, right? There's all these branches and different directions that you can go. But if your root, your base is not strong, you're going to struggle. So that's why I offer the fundamentals first.
I love that. And I'll actually be joining your class for this next
Oh,
cohort that's coming
great.
up. Because that's definitely kind of the route that I want to go kind of long term as far as like my tech career. So I'm looking into that, and then of course after that I'll be looking to getting certified as a Scrum Master as well. But I think that's important. And do you think that it's essential that people learn about Agile and Scrum in the project if they are looking in that project management role?
I definitely think it's essential. So I'll give you a real world example. I obtained that certified Scrum Master certificate, which is Agile, right? And you'll learn about this as you learn more about project management. Agile is a specific methodology, a way of working. So when I joined my very first contract, what I realized is although on the job description they said, hey, we're looking to contract out with someone who is, we're doing agile, we're transforming, we're no longer using waterfall, which is a different way of working. When I actually started learning about their projects, what I learned was number one, they said they were doing agile, but they weren't. So I needed to know waterfall, again, going back to those foundations and understanding at the root what project management is. The other thing is, again, Agile is one of those methodologies that a lot of companies are starting to understand that it's a great way of working, but it is a new way of working for most corporations. So most people do a blended approach, and that's okay. But if you don't understand what is Agile, you don't know where they're trying to go in the future. And if you don't understand what's waterfall, you don't know how they're currently managing projects.
So it's important really just to have that like
Yes.
that dynamic understanding of in project management. And one thing that I've realized is as I'm learning about Agile and Scrum, a lot of these methodologies.
Sorry, my dogs.
Oh, okay. No, you're
Oh, you're
good.
good.
No, you're good. So a lot of these methodologies can actually be applied in other areas, especially if you are like a business owner, an entrepreneur. I think I was saying the other day, like this is something I feel like all business owners should learn, because you
Oh,
don't even
yes.
think about it. Like you don't even, most of them probably have never even heard Agile or Scrum.
Right. Yeah, when I first heard the word scrum, I was like, that's weird. Why did they
Yeah.
call it that? And even to your point with agile, as being a business owner, I definitely think you could be more successful because if you think about when you're running a business, you tend to have this long laundry list of things that you need to do. And most people, not all, but most people are wearing multiple hats. So you may be your social media manager, you may be writing content, you may also be your own salesperson, and you have these laundry lists for each role that you're playing. But if you were truly managing your business as a project and working within Agile, it would help you break up all those laundry lists of work into smaller increments, and you would actually be able to get things done versus getting to the end of the day and being truly exhausted and feeling like you didn't accomplish anything because you just have pages worth of things to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I've been taking a class that's just teaching about agiles by a nonprofit. I can't remember their name now. It's like Job something. I'll have to put it in the description after this. But taking a class about it, and every class that I sit in, I'm like, okay, I feel like I should have known this a long time ago with running my business. It could have just saved me a lot of time and effort for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and it's never too late to apply. And even if you have people who are watching this, YouTube now, and they don't run a business, even in your everyday life, we all have that random journal or that digital to-do list that we walk around with. And sometimes we feel overwhelmed because you're just trying to tackle so much at one time versus sitting down, figuring out, okay, what are the 4 things that I can get done? And then even before you move on to the next 4 items, really being able to assess, was I successful? What worked? What didn't work? What can I change? So when I get ready to go and knock out the next 4 things on my list, you move accordingly. So that in a nutshell is like a simple example of agile.
Yeah, it's definitely something important to learn. And I want to, before we, because I don't want it to be too long, but I want to dive into just what it looks like to, I guess, break in. That's a term that everyone uses, but break into project management. Because one question I think that I get a lot inside of our Young in Tech Facebook group is they want to pursue, a career, so say project management, but they don't know where to start. So if somebody is saying, hey, I've done some research on YouTube. I think that this is the route I want to go. Can you just give kind of like a brief outline as far as like what does that process look like to actually get a role?
Yeah, so I would say, number one, if you wake up today and decide you want to transition into project management, the very first thing that I would do is start making a list of what are the things that you've done in your current roles. So outside of, hey, I was a manager at whatever store, or I was a teacher, or whatever that role looks like, think about what your day to day consisted of. So for me with marketing, that's what made me start thinking about like, okay, I strategically was responsible for creating and managing these campaigns and the budgets and making sure that campaigns went in flight on time. So that's when I had to start getting granular about what I was responsible for doing. That would be the first thing. After you start thinking about what you do day to day or what you've done in your previous roles, I would start listing out what are the things that you love about working, right? Do you like managing people? Do you like talking to people? No one loves sitting in meetings, but are you that person that you absolutely dread being in a meeting? Or if you're adding value and it's something that you're interested in, you're okay with being in a meeting. These are certain skills that you want to start writing down. Are you organized? If you are a hot mess and you're not organized, project management, I would tell you, is not for you. So again, these are things that you want to start writing down. Once you have written down those roles that you've had, the skills that you have, then you want to start looking into learning project management. And that's what I mentioned. My course can be beneficial for you so that you can understand if you're trying to break into project management, what is project management, because it looks different with every organization. So learn the foundation. Then once you learn the foundation, through that you will understand, okay, now I want to specialize. So do I only want to focus on IT project management? Maybe I am a marketer and I'm creative and I want to focus on digital or creative project management and working with those type of projects. Maybe you're a teacher and you want to stay in education but get out of the classroom. So you want to focus on higher education, ed technology, education technology. So you want to start understanding what are your interests. And then from there, then you can figure out, outside of taking my course and getting that certificate, where do you want to specialize? And that's how you know which direction you want to go in.
Okay, awesome. And can you tell us a little bit more info as far as where we can find your class? So I will put the link in the description, but just kind of dive into that just a little bit before we get off.
Yeah, definitely. So it's the Profit PM Academy. If you go to my website, which is SabinaHarris, you can find the link. You also can find it in the description. I'm on social media. So if you're on Instagram, my Instagram is the Sabina Harris. Oh, it's in my bio. I can always message you the link. That's where you can find the course. And it's an 8-week self-paced course. So we do have a learning plan where we basically tell people, like, here's how we design this course to be created and how you can work your way through it. But if you're one of those people that you're like a super learner and you want to do it on your own, you can do that as well. I do offer weekly live sessions, coaching sessions with the students. So we'll talk about your resume. Again, you get an internship with the program. So we'll teach you how to manage a project. I'll teach you how to use one of the most popular systems that you'll need, which is Jira, and we'll also use Microsoft Azure DevOps. So again, if you're not going into IT project management, Azure DevOps would probably be a tool that you would use. If you're going into IT, Jira is a tool that you would use, but they're both very good tools to learn. So you learn the tools, you get coaching, we'll optimize your resume, and also do interview prep. So again, my goal is to get you comfortable talking about project management and how your experience is relatable. So at the end of the course, you'll get a certificate. You'll be able to show employers that you do have an internship experience. You can show a live project in your portfolio, and you'll be on your way to breaking into your project management role.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And like I said, I'll be in class, so I'm definitely excited for that. And I feel like even if you don't know if you want to go the project management route, I think this is a good skill set to have really in any role. Because
Yeah.
technically, in the role that I'm in now, I work for an ed tech software company, and I'm considered an account executive for higher ed. And we use Jira.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
being able to know like how to use these tools can really translate into really a lot of different roles in the technology industry. So it's something that it's just a skill set I think that everybody really should have, because it's just, there's no downside to having it, right?
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things that, even if you don't go to your point, even if you don't go right into project management, you can go into being a product owner, or maybe you decide to go the program management route. There are so many different opportunities that you have once you have project management at your foundation. That's why I think it's important. And again, this all came from my experience. So I'm not teaching anything that I didn't go through. I looked back and reassessed, like, okay, if I did this all over again, what approach would I take? What would make it easier, even though I've been successful? So that's why I want to set people up for success and provide these tools, because it's intimidating when you're looking for a job in this industry, and you want to break into project management, but you don't know where to start. So my goal is to break down some of that intimidation and help people out.
Absolutely, I love that. And that added internship with it and having an actual project, I think is like invaluable. You can't really get that in a lot of other programs. So I'll definitely make sure that we have the link to that inside of our description. Can you enroll at any time?
So you can enroll. So the class starts November 13th, and this is for our winter intensive. So what I will do is, everyone who took the class last night, they have until Sunday to enroll. But if anyone does see this video after Sunday, I will provide a code, which will be your first name. So it'll be easy to remember. And they can use the code to get it at the $99 price. So that's an 8-week course with the internship and the LinkedIn optimization for $99. After that, the course does go up for the next intensive. So I would encourage everyone, like, we spend $100 on random stuff, Starbucks,
Right.
so it's worth the investment.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Sabina, I really appreciate you for coming on here and just telling us more about project management and your experience. And I'm really looking forward to joining this winter cohort. I'm really excited about that. And I'll definitely be able to, I'll probably do like a follow-up video and just talk about my experience with it. I think that'll be pretty cool for people to see. But yeah, I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, and I'm excited to have you in the class.
Yes, absolutely. I'm all about just upskilling right now, just learning new things, learning new skill sets, because, coming into this industry, I realized that I have a lot of transferable skills, but there's also so much that I don't know, so I'm really just
Yeah.
in that learning phase right now. So I'm really excited about that.
And that's exciting. I'm happy for you. Excited to be
Thank
along the ride.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I appreciate you, Sabina, and thank you for everyone for tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're going to be back with more videos, more interviews. My goal is just to give you everything that I know and be able to give you access to everyone in my network so that you can learn more about the technology field, learn more about entrepreneurship and everything in between. So I appreciate you guys, and we're going to catch you in the next video.